Hi, I'm Nathan with the eBook Reader blog. For this video, I'm going to do a comparison review between the Kindle Colorsoft and the Boox Go Color 7. So they both have the same 7-inch color e-ink screen, but there's a lot of differences between them. There's a lot of differences between these two devices in general. The Boox runs Android. It's got a lot more features, way more capable than the Kindle. Kindle's just got a basic, operating system designed for reading, where the Boox it can do all kinds of things. But when it comes down to the screen, there's just something about the Colorsoft screen that looks way better just about in every regard. So we'll get into that more later. As far as the design goes, the Colorsoft has this smooth metallic finish on it, and the Boox has this textured material on it. It feels kind of nice. The Boox is also quite a bit thinner than the Colorsoft. And then it has the page buttons, of course, on the side of the screen, kind of similar to the Kindle Oasis. And then it also has a micro SD card slot, so it has some different features that the Kindle doesn't have. The Kindle is waterproof. They advertise the Boox as water resistant, but it's not really certified or anything like that. Both have flush front screens, but Onyx also sells a white version of the Go Color 7 that has an indented screen. The Boox has twice as much storage space with 64 gigabytes, whereas the Kindle has 32, but the Kindle adds wireless charging and an auto brightness sensor. So I've got the Kindle app installed on the Boox in order to compare the same comics and content, which makes it a little bit easier than the comparison I previously did with the Kobo Libra Color, which was like really hard to show the same content on two different platforms. But so I got the Kindle app on here. I can download the same stuff on both of these devices, but for whatever reason, the Kindle downloads higher resolution versions than the Kindle app on the Boox Go 7. So stuff's just a little bit clearer, like when you zoom in or whatever. But the colors are, it's just surprising how different the colors are on both of these as well. So I have them both set to the vivid color style. The colors are just darker on the Kindle. The text is also just a little bit clearer, but in some instances, the Boox, like on this page right here, it looks a little bit brighter. Actually, it's one thing with the app, you got to be careful turning pages. Sometimes it'll open that multi-page view. But like right here, though, like the green and the pink kind of stands out a little more on the Boox. But for the most part, the colors are just a little bit more saturated on the Kindle, and you get a lot more ghosting on the Boox. I used to think that was a problem with color ink, but you get very little ghosting at all. There's like no issues with the Colorsoft, where with the Boox, you get ghosting issues all the time. So there's different settings you can configure with the Boox, but like no matter what you do, you're gonna get more ghosting. And it's not so bad when you're using full page view here. And then you're turning the full page, but if you're doing the scroll at all, then it will leave a lot of ghosting. Even here with the default book app, the default ebook app on the Boox, you can see a lot of ghosting in the background. So the front lights are very different between these two units as well. Just has a very different color tone, both on the cool color setting and the warm color setting. It's kind of interesting actually how much they vary. It doesn't really pick it up as much on the camera. And the Boox, the front light on it, it's a lot dimmer until you get right at the end. The last three notches are a lot brighter than the lower settings, so you really got to crank up the front light on the Boox to get it anywhere close to the Kindle. And then the tone, it's kind of got a different tone to it as well, so it's kind of weird. So if you just go down to like 3/4 on the Boox, 3/4 on the Kindle, it's like way dimmer on the Boox. So yeah, they just have different front light levels. When the front light's off, they look similar. The color ink screens have that darker quality to them, but it's just sort of interesting how the front lights work on these two units. It's completely different on the Boox, a lot dimmer until you get way up here, 3/4 and higher. Then it finally brightens up a little bit more. But overall, the light's definitely brighter on the Kindle, and it just has a clearer quality to it for some reason. I don't know. Front lights vary so much from one to the next. You never really know what you're going to get. So as far as the interface goes, the Kindle's a lot more basic. You have the home screen and a library view. The Boox, you have like this app drawer, and you've also got a separate library view. There's a store that's totally pointless. All it has is a few public domain titles in it. And you got the storage. This is more like a navigating by, folders. So with the Kindle, you just have the home screen, library view, but something about the covers on the Kindle, they just stand out way more. The colors are just better. So let's load up the Kindle app here. The thing you got to know about running Android apps on ink devices is they're not designed for ink devices. So there's a lot more glitchiness, a lot more flashing and ghosting. So, the experience is never going to be quite as good as a dedicated e-reader. But it's definitely usable. It's just there's going to be more flashing, more ghosting. The colors just aren't quite as saturated when we're reviewing cover view here. They just stand out a little bit better on the Kindle, but it's one of those things that you got to get used to with Android. Another thing with the Android app is it just doesn't display as good as a regular Kindle. Like you can see the text, it's not nearly as dark. It has more of a washed out quality to it. The Android app, it doesn't have any kind of boldness option. So there are all these different configuration settings, different refresh settings on the book, so you can get smoother refreshing and stuff like that. But it doesn't have boldness like the Kindle does. So you can add a couple notches of boldness, makes the text look darker, stands out better. So yeah, it definitely looks better on the Kindle when you're just using regular ebooks. So there are configuration settings with the books on an app by app basis, and it has this bold fonts option. It doesn't work like it used to. You used to be able to make the fonts bolder within the Kindle app. In fact, I had this older books model where I read with it all the time, and it used the bold option. It doesn't work anymore. I don't know what happened to it, but you also have these other configuration options in there. If you set it to volume, you can use the page buttons with the Kindle app. But yeah, overall, you're going to have a much better reading experience on a Kindle than you are on the Kindle app on an e-ink device, just as far as, you know, the text contrast goes and the smoothness of the app and how everything loads and, you know, the page refresh and then ghosting. So let's load up the same book here, one on the Kindle, and then the one on the books is using the default Neo Reader app, which is, you know, a lot more settings. It has boldness options. You can control the layout a lot more than you can with the Kindle app. So if you have DRM-free ebook files, you can read them using the Neo Reader app on the books, but it doesn't support DRM-ed books, so that's definitely a big limitation as far as that goes. So here's kind of a look at like navigating the interface on the Kindle app versus navigating the interface with the Kindle e-reader. It's just smoother on the Kindle. You can see how the covers, they just pop a lot more. Everything's nice and clear. Deep colors, nice dark contrast, whereas the books, just a little bit more of a washed out look, and you get more, you know, refreshing when you scroll. Just because, as I said, like the app's not designed for ink, but, you know, I mean, it can be usable. Let's go ahead and load up a PDF here. The weird thing about the Colorsoft is if you sideload a PDF using a USB cable, it doesn't show color. So you have to send that PDF through Send to Kindle, and then it'll download on your Kindle in color after Amazon converts it to their format. So that's just kind of a weird difference. You can just, you know, sideload any PDF on the books and it'll be in color, whereas the Kindle, you have to use Send to Kindle to get PDFs in color. By default, it kind of looks like the books is displaying better. But what the Kindle has is it has this contrast setting in here, like 3 notches of contrast is just about right. It makes the colors a lot darker. It just kind of makes the screen look better by using the contrast setting. So the books, when you're using the default app, it has a whole bunch of different settings as well. So you can kind of mess with those. And you also have the vivid color modes, the different color modes. You can control the color in addition to like the contrast within the ebook. So if you're using the color mode settings here, you can adjust the color enhancement and like the color brightness. Messing with these a whole bunch, it can never really got anywhere close to the Kindle for me. I don't know why it's making the text white, you know, around the edges instead of just darkening the text. If you go back to the regular mode, and then you can like adjust the contrast settings within the Neo Reader app as well. So there's different color and boldness settings in here that you can mess with as well. But again, I could never get it to be exactly anywhere really close to the Colorsoft. It's just kind of weird how the colors are rendered so differently on these two devices, even though, you know, they have the same color ink screen. There's really no technical difference as far as hardware goes. It just sort of seems to be like a software difference. Like you can come in here, mess with the bold settings, mess with the color enhancement. So you can get the colors a little bit darker, but it kind of makes the text look a little bit different as well. So I don't know, it's just kind of something you got to mess with. That's one thing with books. There's like a million different settings you can configure. And I mean, you can get it to look better. You can get the refreshing to be smoother. It just can take some time to mess with the different settings because there's so many different options. Whereas the Kindle, you're a lot more limited, but it just sort of works better out of the box. You don't really have to mess with it. The colors, I mean, you can mess with the color enhancement, the contrast enhancement. It does make the colors darker. But I mean, other than that, there's really not a whole lot to adjust. There's just the vivid and the standard color styles on the Kindle. Not really a big difference between those. I mean, they just get a little bit darker colors with the vivid. But it still looks a little bit better even with the, you know, the standard color style versus the Boox's vivid style. So I don't know. They're just doing something different with the Kindle to make the colors pop, make them a little bit darker, make them a little more saturated. It might not be as accurate. Actually, the Boox wasn't that accurate when I compared it to the Boox or the Kobo Libre color, but I was expecting it to have better color. It's weird that when you compare it to the Kindle, the Kindle has better color. So like when we're comparing this comic right here, obviously the reds and the blues just and the greens are just darker on the Kindle. You can do the panel view on both of these as well. But when you're using panel view on the books, it just seems to lead to a lot more ghosting because it does the refresh before the page is fully set. As you can see here, the lower resolution as well, which is weird. Using the Android app, you would think it would just download the higher resolution, but the Colorsoft's clearly downloading a higher resolution version of these comics just because the text is sharper, it's just a little bit clearer. Shouldn't have much of an effect on the color though. But yeah, the color's definitely darker on the Kindle. You get way less ghosting. Ghosting is a definite issue with books. They need to figure out the ghosting because that's been an issue for the color devices ever since the beginning. And it doesn't matter how many times you mess with the settings, there's always going to be more ghosting on the books than the Kindle. All right, so I can make this video 20 minutes longer if I wanted to go into comparing all the differences with the Boox software and the Kindle software. I just mostly wanted to show the screen differences and just go over some of the main differences between the two. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap up this video right here. Check out the ebook reader blog and the ebook reader YouTube channel for full reviews of each of these devices where I go into more detail for each. Thank you guys for watching. Bye.